Chapter 345 Natural Enemy. The glowing rain of arrows poured down from the air like a golden storm. A few arrows might not be enough to scratch the surface of a commander-level demon beast skin, but a few hundred, or even 1,000 of them, was a completely different story. The giant poisonous centipede did not expect to find such a powerful magician among the group of humans. Due to its dark element, the light element turned out to be one of its greatest weaknesses. Each of the light arrows easily penetrated and melted through its carapace. The demon beast burst out screaming in pain when the boiling golden rays burned through its wounds. Plummeting rays. Sacred chant. The cleansing force was deadly against evil beasts. The giant poisonous centipede was full of poison, so every single drop of its blood was terrified of the light arrows containing the cleansing force of the sacred chant. As the light arrows poured down, instead of blood splattering from the piercing of sharp weapons, the golden arrows actually melted the demon beast's carapace like burning iron melting through wax. No matter how thick its flesh and how sturdy its carapace were, the cleansing force of the sacred chant was still able to penetrate through them. The giant poisonous centipede shook its body wildly, before it started rolling on the ground in pain. Every single movement of its tail would cause the entire area to shake vigorously. Mo-Fan quickly fled the scene. He was satisfied with one commander-level soul remnant. He was not too fussy about killing this giant poisonous centipede. However, the light element was indeed inflicting critical damage on the demon beast. The giant poisonous centipede could barely hold itself together. If they were to add more firepower to the attack, they would be able to deal a critical blow to it. The giant poisonous centipede wriggled, trying to locate the magician casting the light element magic at it. It curled its tail, before slamming it hard on the ground. The surface of the ground cracked rapidly. It spread to Li Man's position like a fissure. Li Man dodged aside with great agility. However, some of the light arrows lost their accuracy, weakening her damage output. The giant poisonous centipede hurled pieces of rocks in Li Man and Zhang Xiaohu's direction. They might be pieces of rocks in the eyes of the giant poisonous centipede, but to Zhang Xiaohu and Li Man, they were giant boulders flying toward them. They quickly dodged the incoming projectiles. The giant poisonous centipede utilized the chance and escaped toward the center of the swamp. It only had a few limbs remaining, and was purely wriggling like a snake. It plunged right into the mud as it lost its balance, and swam swiftly deeper into the swamp. "Don't let it escape," yelled Zhang Xiaohu subconsciously. The giant poisonous centipede was almost dead. It was the perfect chance to kill it. A commander-level demon beast would surely drop a lot of valuable loot. Off you go," replied Li Man. Mo-Fan was not interested in chasing after the beast, either. His experience was telling him that killing a commander-level demon beast was extremely troublesome. Although the demon beasts that had managed to rank up to the commander level would have different levels of strength, they would surely have outstanding capabilities at escaping or surprise attacks as their trump cards. Li Man had yet to fully recover from the poison, thus she could not fully utilize her strength. Meanwhile, Mo-Fan and Zhang Xiaohu were only intermediate magicians. Even with their soul seeds, they still could not inflict any serious damage to the commander-level demon beast. The giant poisonous centipede had already surprised them by winning the fight against the Xuanwu giant lizard. It had already assisted them in killing the Xuanwu giant lizard. If they chased after it due to greed, the whole group would end up being wiped out. "Forget it. Unless we have a way to trap the giant poisonous centipede, we won't be able to kill it." Mo-Fan did not seem interested in chasing after the beast. Li Man shared the same thought. If both Mo-Fan and Zhang Xiaohu were advanced magicians, the three of them might have a chance at entrapping the severely injured giant poisonous centipede. However, they were only intermediate magicians. It was quite a miracle that their plan had actually killed the Xuanwu giant lizard. "So you're an advanced magician. Why didn't you tell us sooner? We wouldn't have had to try so hard to make the plan work," Zhang Xiaohu exclaimed, with a hint of admiration. Li Man seemed rather young from her looks, but her strength was rather impressive. "It won't make any difference. We won't be able to defeat these monsters," said Li Man. "No way. Does this mean an advanced magician can't defeat a commander-level demon beast?" Zhang Xiaohu blurted out in astonishment. Li Man shook her head and said, "Only the strongest among the advanced magicians are able to take on a commander-level demon beast on their own. That being said, most of them wouldn't be able to kill the commander-level demon beasts either, as the beasts will run away when the situation isn't right. Commander-level demon beasts are highly intelligent. They know how to set up traps like humans. On top of that, the endless warrior-level and servant-class demon beasts under its lead are quite a pain to deal with already. No wonder boss Zhang Kong never managed to kill the Darkwing Wolf. Doesn't that mean he is considered an expert among the advanced magicians, since he dares to fight the Darkwing Wolf on his own? Zhang Xiaohou was even more impressed with his superior. Magicians had to come up with a perfect plan in order to eliminate a commander-level demon beast. First of all, they would have to deal with oceans of servant-class and warrior-level creatures, as the commander-level demon beasts could expend them as free pawns. Second, the strength of a healthy commander-level demon beast was equivalent to 6 or 7 advanced magicians. Even the weaker ones would still be equivalent to 5 advanced magicians. Furthermore, these creatures had outstanding endurance and strong life forces. Even after the advanced magicians fully depleted their energy, the beasts would still be vigorous and lively. Finally, the commander-level demon beasts had great skills at escaping. Without a suitable plan to entrap the demon beasts when they were trying to escape, the magicians would never be able to kill them. Their enormous size allowed them to come and go as they wished. If the magicians were to chase after them, they would destroy the formation they had set up for the battle, and could even get themselves killed. They were only able to kill a commander-level demon beast this time due to several factors. The Xuanwu giant lizard and the giant poisonous centipede were already injured to begin with. They were also only fighting to their last gasps due to the grudges they had toward one another. Normally, most of the commander-level demon beasts would not go all out in the fights. Only servant-class demon beasts would do something stupid like that. Mo Fan cast a glance at Li Man and said with a smile, "I bet the military doesn't want the giant poisonous centipede dead, either." Li Man nodded and replied, "The giant lizard's horde has been out of control recently because they don't really have a natural enemy here. However, the giant poisonous centipede has killed the Xuanwu giant lizard, and its strength will improve significantly after it recovers. It and the giant lizards were like fire and water. It could help us suppress the growth of the giant lizards." "I agree. Within a month, you won't find any giant lizards here in Shijiao Valley." Mo Fan nodded. Chapter 346 Frightening Kingdom. A rare smile surfaced on Li Man's face. Bi City's greatest threat was the giant lizard's horde. Since Li Man had been reallocated to Bi City, she had been unable to come up with any viable plan to suppress the growth of the giant lizards. She was initially planning to investigate the Deathbringer of Dongjing Lake, trying to understand what could possibly kill so many giant lizards. To her surprise, she had bumped into a caveman and a young but courageous soldier in Shijiao Valley. The two had used the simple strategy of provoking 2 demon beasts to fight one another to eliminate a commander-level demon beast. It was definitely good news to Li Man, as it would provide Bi City some relief. On top of that, after learning that the giant poisonous centipede turned out to be the winner of the battle, Li Man quickly came up with an idea and specifically marked the creature with the light element's sacred chant. She purposely let it live, so it would suppress the giant lizards. Killing a commander of the giant lizards while producing a new natural enemy of the giant lizard horde, it was equivalent to suppressing 2 nests of the giant lizards. "I've mentioned before, the corpse is mine," Mo Fan said sternly, pointing at the giant dead body of the Xuanwu giant lizard. "I've got what I wanted," said Li Man. "Brother Fan, I've also gotten what I need. As for the mountain, you should bring it back and build yourself a building." Zhang Xiaohou burst out laughing. A commander-level demon beast's corpse was full of useful components. It would take Mo Fan some time just to finish looting the dead body. "I'll help. I can send a troop of battle mages here to move the corpse back to the army and dissect it." "Who knows how long you will take to do it yourself," suggested Li Man. Her face had more color now, and she looked more feminine. She was in a good mood, both because the poison was cleansed, and because she had resolved a huge threat for the military. "Why don't I sell it to the military? Since we couldn't have done it without you, I'll give you a 10% discount." Mo Fan did agree that moving such an enormous corpse would definitely bring him a great headache. "That works, too. The research team will surely be more than happy to take a commander-level demon beast." As a commander, Li Man had the authority to make the decision on her own. "I wish us good cooperation." Mo Fan reached out his filthy hand. His hair was overgrown with long hair, a sign that the demon element was not fully deactivated yet. Likewise, Li Man wore a gentle smile. She squinted as she said with a hint of admiration, "You're something special. It's my first time seeing an intermediate magician killing a commander-level demon beast." Even among the advanced magicians, killing a commander-level demon beast is considered an impressive achievement. Hee, I didn't come here living for a few months like a caveman just to experience nature. Mo Fan smiled, revealing his sharp canine fangs. Then why don't you tell me? Why were the two commander-level demon beasts severely injured before I came here? Li Man stared right into Mo Fan's eyes, as if she were trying to see through his lies. God knows. Mo Fan rolled his eyes, as if it were none of his business. Li Man did not ask further, seeing that he was trying to avoid the topic. Li Man believed that this caveman was closely related to the Deathbringer of Donjing Lake, but she did not know the details. After arriving back at Bi City, Mo Fan felt the final soul breakdown was about to take place. It was similar to a tribulation for Mo Fan. He was being punished by heaven for using a power that did not belong to him. Everything would be fine if he were able to survive the tribulation, but he would be damned if he failed. Mo Fan was clueless about the number of giant lizards he had killed, and he had no idea how many soul essences he had consumed. Either way, he did not want to be controlled by the demon element again. If it weren't for the little loach pendant, he would have died several times over. Once he survived the final soul breakdown, the blood sarira in his body would disappear completely. Mo Fan would have hesitated to get rid of the demon's lineage if it weren't for the extreme after effects. He did like the feeling of being able to beat the shit out of a commander-level demon beast. Unfortunately, great power would not just come for free. The price he had to pay was too much for him to bear. He recalled Zhang Yi's words. Even if he managed to survive, his cultivation would still decline. After Mo Fan used the commander-level soul remnant to overcome the tribulation, his soul was in a grave condition, while his cultivation declined significantly, too. Mo Fan felt like having a tearless cry. He had spent so much effort on improving his fire element to the 3rd tier. He had so much fun with the 9 Halls Fiery Fist, but it had now dropped down to the 2nd tier, the Fiery Fist, Groundbreak. Not only did his fire element decline, his lightning element, shadow element, and summoning element had all dropped by a grade. If Mo Fan were slightly touched by the power of the demon element before, the declining of his cultivation had forced him to make up his mind instead. His cultivation was a result of hard work. That being said, it would be quite impossible for Mo Fan to demonize now, even if he wanted to. The energy of the demon element had completely dissipated after the final soul breakdown. He would need a new blood sarira in order to use the demon element again. The blood sarira was in the military's hands. Mo Fan did consider bringing one with him at all times, as losing his life was scarier than losing a grade of his cultivation. It would be something he had to think about in the future. After recovering his human form, Mo Fan followed Zhang Xiaohou back to the southern military. The only person from the military he could trust was Zhang Kong. He had managed to suppress the information about the demon element, thus not many people knew about his secret. "I sometimes wonder if you're invincible. How are you still alive after that?" Zhang Kong smiled when he saw the lively Mo Fan in front of him. "I'm pretty much dead anyway. My cultivation has declined," Mo Fan said with a wry smile. "That's nothing. You can easily recover your cultivation. I've asked them to do a full check on your body. The demon lineage in your body is fully cleansed, and your soul is recovering well, too," said Zhang Kong. "That's a relief." Mo Fan nodded and uttered a relieved sigh. "By the way, I've done a little experiment by using the blood sarira's energy on your body. I've discovered that your body is now immune to it," said Zhang Kong. "Immune?" Mo Fan was confused. "Frankly speaking, the blood sarira won't have any effect on you. You won't be able to demonize anymore. You would have awakened a new element, if it were truly an element. However, you only have 4 elements now, instead of having the demon element in your spiritual world. What they invented was more like a virus, an ecstasy, a biochemical drug. It has nothing to do with a new element," said Zhang Kong. Mo Fan nodded. Lu Nian and his group were mad, trying to make something so twisted a new magic element. "You should train here for some time, try and recover your cultivation first. The news regarding your death is still being published, since the Black Vatican still has their eyes on you. If nothing is wrong with your body for some time, you can go back to school, said Zhang Kong. Thanks, instructor. Mo Fan felt rather relaxed knowing that his life was no longer in danger. Brother Fan, you should stay here longer, Zhang Xiaohou said with a smile. You should get your ass to the ancient capital now. I sent you there to train yourself, and yet you've been wasting time messing around, scolded Zhang Kong without mercy. Zhang Xiaohou shrugged, not daring to say anything further. The ancient capital Xi'an? I was told that it's pretty close to the land of the undead, asked Mo Fan. Zhang Xiaohou nodded heavily as he said, the undead will occasionally crawl out from nowhere. It's nearly impossible to wipe them out, as they will reincarnate fairly quickly. By the way, with the earth element's soul seed, flowing mud, I'm no longer afraid of being surrounded by the undead. I should visit the place sometime, exclaimed Mo Fan, the place where dynasties rose and fell, the burial ground of countless soldiers. As the sun rose from the east, the living woke up and proceeded to their daily routines. However, as the sun set on the horizon, the undead would impatiently lift open the sand, pall, and coffin lids as they worshipped the darkness. Tombs, graves, battlefields, corpse pits, buried soldiers. What kind of an exciting kingdom would it be? Chapter 347 The Man Without Grace. Autumn had arrived within the blink of an eye. The streets full of drifting fallen leaves and catkins in Hangzhou had combined into a poetic scene. During autumn, Hangzhou was not as scorching as the cities in the south, with temperatures similar to summer. It was also not as chilly as the places in the north. It had the perfect temperature, with a gentle breeze. It was more like the gentle, elegant final washes of ink or color to a drawing, instead of an omen of the upcoming winter season. Zhejiang Institute had the same dull gray color. More fallen leaves were waiting to be cleaned up every day. They were like the clothes that women dumped as the seasons changed, not worth being sentimentally attached to. The female students still retained the usual trend of wearing short skirts and black stockings. The outfit was deemed the all-around outfit among the girls, regardless of the season, and it would never be described as out of fashion, either. It was like a Nippon lily, retaining the radiance of spring at all times. In comparison, the most popular outfit among the men was the combination of sandals and jerseys. In the South, this outfit was good enough to last 3.5 seasons. Those who were not bothered about trifles would wear it during all seasons, not because they would simply wear an outer layer of down coat in the cold seasons, but because they did not need to rely on extra warmth from clothing due to their fire or ice elements. Speaking of the perks of having those elements, Zhejiang Institute had a small lake to its west, and at its center stood a pavilion. The pavilion was left unattended for quite some time. Even the wooden bridge connecting the pavilion had collapsed to the bottom of the lake, as if it were a sign telling the students not to hang around the lake. Unfortunately, everyone there was a magician, thus the bridge would not make a difference at all. A handsome man with perfectly set hair stood by the lake and said with a smile, "I'll push you there, it's nothing worth mentioning." The calm surface of the clean lake reflected his rather tall figure. The gentle, yet masculine movement and tone implied that he had come from a fairly educated background. He reached out his hand and swept it across the lake. The weeds at the shore were gradually covered by a layer of ice. The ice rapidly spread to the water, making a crackling noise. The surface of the lake froze. The thin layer of ice gradually thickened, as the icy energy continued to spread across it. It looked like an ice bridge was slowly extending across the surface of the lake, resulting in a magical view. It's the Prince of Ice, Lu Yilin. Not only is he handsome, his control of the ice element is very impressive, too. As expected of someone ranked on our school's leaderboard. Some girls nearby screamed at the top of their lungs. The Prince of Ice was a complimentary title that Zhejiang Institute had given to Lu Yilin. He had conquered the entire school with his ice element not long after coming here. Together with his outstanding appearance and cool demeanor, he quickly captured many girls' hearts. Wasn't a man like him the reason why they had worked so hard trying to secure a spot in the powerhouse institutes? Sigh, he's with that girl again. I don't understand. What good does a girl who can't even walk properly have? A female student with a perfect mid-split hairstyle blurted out in envy. In terms of appearance, many girls could easily outmatch her. I bet he's just pitying her. I hate people who act like they are pitiful the most. Grumbling when someone has merely stepped on an ant. I can't walk, please push me around. I'm having a slight headache, I think I've caught a cold. Everyone knows how to pretend to be weak. Humph. Chen Yunqi snapped. Her mimic was on point, which prompted her friends nearby to bust out laughing. The laughter echoed on the path lined with trees. The Prince of Ice, Lu Yilin, glanced back at the girls who he used to hang out with. He smiled gently and slightly lowered his head. Don't mind them. They are only jealous because I'm spending my time with you. Come, let's go to the pavilion. I want to have some time alone, sorry. Xinxia raised her head. There was no other emotion in her clear eyes apart from the calm. She rolled her wheelchair with her skinny arms. She did not take the frozen path, but approached the lakeside instead. Lu Yilin tapped his nose as he uttered a self-mocking laugh. Meanwhile, Chen Yuqi's rather annoying voice appeared, yo, acting like a noble, pretending to keep a distance in order to grasp him better. How impressive. Well, Yunqi, you can't say that. Maybe someone is really not interested in the Prince of Ice. Maybe someone has already occupied her heart, said the girl with the mid-split. Then maybe her sweetheart prefers to go out with someone whom he can hold hands with while browsing the streets, someone like us who will not require him to push a wheelchair. I bet you've been reading too many of those romance novels. He. Lu Yilin frowned. In his opinion, Chen Yunqi and her friends had gone too far. How could they keep on talking about someone's physical defects? It would just highlight how uneducated they were. The girls continued to exchange disdainful remarks on their own. Lu Yilin finally ran out of patience and blurted out, "Aren't you going a bit too far with that?" Too far? I don't think so. We're just saying what we want to say, and doing what we want to do. We don't like girls who like to put up an act. Frankly speaking, she's still acting as if she were a saintess after being mocked by us, pretending that she isn't angry at us. I bet she's cursing us in her heart, said Chen Yunqi in a mocking tone. That's right. We make it clear who we don't like. We dare to spit it out when we dislike the White Lotus. Those who put up an act are the most disgusting. The girls left Lu Yilin speechless with their reasoning. Lu Yilin was clueless about what to do. He glanced at the lonely back of the person sitting on a wheelchair. He had no idea how he could comfort her. While he was feeling lost, a man wearing a black short-sleeved shirt walked past him. Judging from his outfit, he had most likely come from the south. No one would wear clothes like him due to the cold temperature. The man had a fierce presence. His body was wrapped inside a unique shadow, which resulted in a huge contrast with his bright, eye-grabbing aura. He even looked like a hooligan, with how his chest was exposed from the 3 loosened buttons. Bitches like you should just stay in the water, the man said to Chen Yunqi and the girls who were still talking non-stop. The man definitely lacked a tender heart toward females. His kicks landed accurately on 3 different body parts of the girls. Chen Yunqi, the girl with the mid-split, and the other one wearing glasses were taken by surprise, and were knocked right into the icy lake. The splashes were exceedingly obvious along the path. It quickly attracted the attention of the crowd nearby. None of the girls possessed the water element. Their bodies were soaked, and the water was cold, too. Their clothing, hair, and makeup were utterly messed up by the water. Lu Yilin was stunned. He stared at the man in disbelief. Why would a man be acting so rough against women? Even though he had pictured himself kicking the girls into the lake a few times, his inner conscience from living a noble life would never allow him to perform such a disgraceful act. Chapter 348. She's a brocon and I'm a siscon. Which jerk dares to kick me into the water? I'll crush you. It's that guy in the black shirt. It's him. Sisters, let's peel his skin off. Teach him that the prettiest 3 sisters of Zhejiang Institute are not someone he would want to mess with. The mid-split, the girl with her hair soaked wet had turned into a crazy woman. She totally ignored the icy water and started showing her stars. The girl called Chen Yunqi was even crazier. A star pattern was drawn slowly under her feet. However, her body shivered from the cold and following a sneeze, it instantly interrupted the casting of the magic, leaving her really angry. Bitches like you who only know how to abuse people with words dare to fight against me? The man wearing the black shirt whistled and stared at the wet clothing on the girls. One has a thick waist, one a flat chest, and one with wide open legs. I'm not surprised that you would be jealous of the others. The 3 girls went crazy when the shameless man pointed out the parts that they were embarrassed of. They totally forgot about the rules where the students were not allowed to duel outside of the training grounds and summoned their nebula and star patterns. Lightning strike. Electric field. Mo Fan adeptly cast the lightning magic. Dense lightning arcs sprang forward following his wave. The lightning arcs flew through the air, a few of them spreading rapidly across the ground. The lightning arcs soon formed an electric field with a circumference of 20 meters around the girls. The lightning arcs cracked rapidly as they were conducted toward the girls. The water made it easier to conduct electricity. The basic level spells they finally managed to cast were shattered instantly. They began to dance wildly as if they were in a fire pit from the shocks. Their hair was scorched black while their wet clothes were toasted dry. The girls that were relatively good-looking a few moments ago now looked uglier than ghouls. Mo Fan had already controlled the power of the lightning strike to avoid inflicting any damage to them. Otherwise, he could guarantee that they would have had an even greater time. The lightning strike. Lu Yilin was startled. Chen Yunqi was an intermediate magician, and the other two girls were not weak either, halfway into the intermediate level. However, not only had their opponent managed to cast his magic way earlier, they could not even do anything against a mere basic spell. The magician using the lightning strike clearly knew how to control his energy, only trying to teach them a lesson instead of hurting them. The passers-by burst into laughter when they saw the miserable appearance of the girls. You just wait. Tell us your name if you have the guts. I, Chen Yunqi, will definitely make you pay. Chen Yunqi burst out cursing while coughing up smoke. The man in the black shirt blurted out with an evil grin, I'm one that has never bothered using a false identity. Shen Mingxiao from Pearl Institute. Shen Mingxiao, very well, you shall wait. Chen Yunqi quickly left after uttering the threat. As a woman, she still wanted to protect her own image. The trio did not want to stay any further and be the crowd's laughingstock. The man in the black shirt chuckled when he saw the three girls fleeing. He went up to Xinxia. On the wheelchair, Xinxia, whose eyes were glistening, had her mouth slightly open. Her face was filled with joy and surprise. Soon, her eyes turned wet and red. Following a blink, her eyelashes were soaked with tears. Stupid girl, what are you crying for? Didn't I tell you that I'm still alive? Mo Fan stood in front of Xinxia with his hands in his pockets. He half bent forward while staring at Xinxia's cheeks, as if he were acting cool. However, when he saw her tears bursting out from her eyes, he panicked and drew out his hands. His fingers swiped across her chubby face to get rid of the tears rolling down her cheeks. Xinxia could not hold her tears when she heard the words. She opened her arms and wrapped around Mo Fan's neck, sticking her face close to his. Mo Fan was slightly startled. He could feel the tenderness and the heat from the girl's face. His heart, which was still feeling rather indifferent, immediately melted. His squinted eyes showed how relieved he felt, while his mouth, which usually portrayed arrogance and evil intentions, slowly curled upward into a relieved smile. A girl sitting on a wheelchair, and a boy half bending forward while enjoying the hug, the crowd, despite its number, had somehow turned into the background together with the path with trees lined up on both sides. It was a peaceful afternoon, with steady and gentle breathing, and tears of joy. Do you still remember the story I told you? Once upon a time, a king had two daughters. They were born pretty, and had a unique ability. Their tears would turn into pearls instantly. The king then let her eldest daughter marry a prince from another kingdom. The prince always hurt her, thus making her cry. The pearls she made were enough to wrap around the earth twice. The younger daughter married a farmer. The king was confused, as a single drop of tears could let them live a luxurious life, but they stayed poor instead. However, the king soon realized that the farmer is not willing to let his daughter shed a single drop of tears. The king said to the farmer with relief, "You're a good husband, unlike the other prince who only cared about producing more pearls with his daughter's tears." Mo Fan slowly told the classic story. Xinxia nodded heavily. She had already heard the story before, and not just once. Her heart rippled as she blushed slightly. Did Mo Fan just hint that they were like husband and wife? The farmer fell silent for a moment hearing the king's words, before he blurted out. Mo Fan saw there were still tears on Xinxia's cheeks, thus he pretended to be the farmer and said, "My king, I bet you've forgotten. She is only fond of me after she went blind." Hearing this, Xinxia instantly felt the atmosphere crumbling. She clenched her little fists and threw punches at Mo Fan's shoulder. This asshole is trying to destroy the fairy tales again. Most of them have already fallen victim to his hands. Can't he just finish them with a happy ending? However, when she recalled Mo Fan's tone as he mimicked the farmer, she burst into tears of joy instead. Thanks to this jerk for brainwashing her with dark fairy tales. Somehow, She would even laugh at such a bad punchline. Xinxia, is this your brother that you mentioned before? Hi, I'm Lu Yilin, nice to meet you. Lu Yilin was never satisfied with just being a bystander. He soon went up to the two. Mo Fan turned around at the hypocrite Lu Yilin and snapped, "Didn't you know it's impolite to disturb a couple making a public display of affection?" Public display of affection? Lu Yilin was stunned, before he asked in a surprised tone, "Aren't you two siblings?" "She's a brocon, and I'm a siscon. You have a problem with that," said Mo Fan.